Alright, I'm going to be starting a series of videos which are about Confucianism. I have 10 videos that I have planned out, which are basically just going to be about Confucianism of the classical kind of Confucius and of Mencius. This is my basically my first formal video, which is about Chinese philosophy. So I'm kind of going to be getting into these things. I'm first going to start with Confucius and Mencius and kind of, discuss all that stuff, all the different virtues and, most of the few main virtues. And the Confucian system of ethics and their religion, the religious part of it, and also the political and governmental part of it. And then once I finish that, I probably will be going on to Neo-Confucianism, which is Twigye, like Iwang, people like that, Chushi, and people like that, just kind of getting into the Neo-Confucian era. And I will also be getting into the whole Buddhism thing, the Buddhism in China thing, and so Moism, and then I'll probably also, I'm just gonna try and do all the Asian philosophy I can. That's what I'm gonna try and do here. But first, in this video, I want to talk about the first thing I want to talk about is one of the main virtues that is central to the philosophy of Confucius. So, first of all, Confucius is a Latinized name for Kongwutze or Kongse. That's basically the first guy who had all these sayings. He didn't write the Analects. The Analects are it's just sayings, sayings that were put together after Confucius's death, and they were put together and used for people following him. And then Mencius was in a way a interpreter of some of the things that Confucius said, and he also had his own writing, which was conveniently called the Mencius. Mencius was also, his name was Mengzi, which was Latinized to Mencius. So, in this video, I want to talk about Confucius's idea of filial piety, or xiao. Xiao is a virtue which is kind of central to classical Confucianism, which comes from the teachings of Confucius. So, filial piety is foundational to classical Confucianism, and it also has a role in Neo-Confucianism also. It's a foundational in the idea. It is social, ethical, and it is political. Filial piety has to do with family, and it's not just like, if you're, your family, your mom and your dad and your siblings. It's not just that. It goes way beyond that. It's about family, and it's about relationships, and it can be on the lower level of just a family where your father does, between father and son, mother and son, all these different relationships within a family. And it can be bigger as to a whole community, and it can be even bigger as to a whole state, as to a whole governmental state. So this whole relational virtue of filial piety can, it can be on the very smaller levels of just a small family, and can be applied, on the biggest levels too. So it's very foundational. The most fundamental. Well, there's 5 kinds of relationships. Being filial means carrying out a good government. That's one way of looking at it, being filial. But there are 5 relationships, and it's like if you are a subject in a government, you revere and respect and venerate the ruler. If you are a son, then you respect and venerate your father. Or if you're a wife, you respect and revere and venerate your husband. So the 5 relationships, the first one is parent to his parent to his parent to child. The child is supposed to respect and revere and venerate his father or mother, his parent. The second one is the husband to wife. The wife is secondary. The wife is supposed to respect and revere her husband. Sibling to sibling. That's not entirely always prior. One is prior to the other. But it's about age too. It's about the whole Chinese language, like the Chinese characters. There's no just Chinese character for brother or Chinese character for sister. There's a Chinese character for older brother versus younger brother, older sister versus younger sister. It's based on age. You respect people that are older than you. Respect your elders. Friend to friend is the 4th kind of relationship, and the final one is ruler to subject. So it's how it can go from a simple family all the way to a statewide level. The idea of family is related to the idea of the good life. If you have a family in some form, then you have a good life. Obedience this is also related to the virtue of li, or obedience and following rites, rituals, and immoral norms. And it's also related to the virtue of yi or e. If it's with yi, it can be pronounced yi, or sometimes they don't even use the y. They just say e. Yi meaning righteousness or moral appropriateness. But the whole idea of filial piety has to do with the whole notion of family, and that's just how family can just mean, even if you're a subject where you have a ruler, that's a whole familial sort of thing. It's all about family. It is a family relationship. The idea of having a family is related to having a good life, respecting your elders for once, respect for age, and having a good government, whether it being on a small scale or a very, very large scale. So it's not an easy thing to get your hand to it's kind of unwieldy in that xiao or filial piety is not it can mean some different things, because it's not always easy to translate a Chinese character like xiao or li or hao shui into a English thing. So that's kind of what this is about. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I should say about filial piety or xiao. And it's relationship based. Having a Confucian or being or living a good life is based on relationships and like having good relationships and respecting based of age. So there's lots of different other things that we'll unpack when I discuss Li, and we'll discuss E in a smaller portion, and Ren is a big one, and Hao Shui or self cultivation.